Hello, welcome to Writings from the Hills. This week we are spotlighting a book called Tragedy and Triumph. This book came out in 2012 and it is How Ashland Made a Dream Come True on a Nightmarish Day in 1967. This was written by Mark Maynard and it is a hardback book. It is available in our genealogy department, so it is always available to be read, but it is not able to be checked out. And I will say the book does have a lot of photos. It's around 190 pages. You will see some of the photos. And this is about the 1967 Thanksgiving Day championship game. And it starts out with a foreword and acknowledgments by the author, which is Mark Maynard. And it talks about him, he and his family, his father, going to Louisville to watch the Ashland Tomcats play for the state championship in Elizabethtown. And what made this game so triumphant and tragic was what happened before. I'm reading from The Long Ride Home, which is the first chapter. As the chartered buses they called Smarties carrying Ashland's 1967 football team motored toward home, there wasn't much chatter among the players. Even though less than 12 hours earlier the Tomcats had defeated Elizabethtown 19-14 in the Class AA state championship game. Despite accomplishing a promise they made to each other in the bowels of Putnam Stadium more than a year before, after the playoff loss to Fort Thomas Highlands concluded the 1966 season, the mood was not one of celebration. It was more somber and subdued. They were making the 4-hour drive from Louisville to Ashland with heavy hearts and a stark reality that they were not invincible. That lesson was driven home in a very real way with the tragic death of a classmate and basketball player, Joe Franklin, who was killed in an automobile accident near Moorhead on the way to the basketball scrimmage with 4 other students, 3 other basketball players, and a manager on the morning of the state championship game. Franklin was the only one killed, but the others were either in the hospital or badly shaken up. The Tomcat football players had to reflect on one of their greatest athletic achievements while also dealing with, perhaps for the first time, the loss of someone their own age. It was unfathomable for them to understand everything that had transpired in the last 24 hours. These young men, who always thought of themselves as unbreakable, learned in the harshest way imaginable that life is indeed precious and that there is no guarantees from one second to the next. Franklin had been killed on Friday morning, a few hours before the football team left Ashland for Louisville Fairgrounds to play in the E-Town for the state championship on what was going to be one of the most memorable nights of their young lives. They didn't know what happened to Franklin until after the game, even though most of the Tomcat fans in attendance, along with the cheerleaders and the band, did. The coaches, who found out on the ride down to the game after the rest stop in Mount Sterling, decided it was best that the players not know until the game was played. They isolated the team from anybody who knew about the tragedy. When the news report said fatal accident, I can remember sitting on the edge of a bed and staring at a TV screen, said Connie Mills Wooten, a band member who played flute and found out the news in such an impersonal way. We weren't at the hotel very long, but we were stunned. Getting back on the bus, Mr. Moore and the band director kept telling us, "You can't say anything to anybody. You can't say anything to anybody." At the game, though, the news was already out. It had trickled down from the stands and was lapping against the sidelines. They had heard. My brother Keith, who was a year younger than me, ran around some with Joe. They were classmates. What Wooten remembers after the game was the lack of celebration, because the hearts were so heavy from the day's tragic news. I can remember when they won the game, there was no celebration. We should be happy, but we can't be. Kathy Goebel was a majorette, and she remembers very little about that night, but she does remember one specific detail. The band and the cheerleaders did not do the kill cheer that had become so popular. We didn't play that. We couldn't. They would not let us do it, and I don't know what we'd done. I don't know that we had done it since. That is just the beginning of Tragedy and Triumph by Mark Maynard. This is how Ashland made a dream come true on a nightmarish day in 1967. Again, this is available in our genealogy department, so it can't be checked out, but it is always available to be viewed. And like I said, it's got all kinds of stats and information, as well as personal accounts of the championship game and the tragedy that preceded it. I thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the book, and I will see you next time.